We will call the meeting to order. The press and public have been notified according to the Freedom of Information Act.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. First up this evening, we have the public hearing. This is notice of public hearing on redistricting ordinance and invitation for public comment. Ordinance 2025-03, establishing new municipal district ward lines for the election of council members reflecting population changes in the year 2020 census and repealing all previous ordinances establishing district ward lines. Pursuant to Section 5-15-50 of the South Carolina Code of Laws, public notice was hereby given that the City of Cayce City Council would hold a public hearing on the proposed new public ward district lines for the election of council members reflecting population changes brought forth by the 2020 census data. Redistricting is the process of redrawing the district lines from which public officials are elected. It typically takes place after each census to accommodate population changes over the previous decade. It is in the interest of Cayce to establish new municipal district lines reflecting the changes in population as shown by the census to provide for fair and equitable representation of population to comply with the United States Constitution and Voting Rights Act of 1965. Redistricting affects all jurisdictions that have single-member elections and seeks to equalize population among those districts. The city's proposed redistricting followed a process outlined in law and supported by a resolution adopted by City Council in March. It was also prepared by a third-party entity, the South Carolina Revenues and Fiscal Affairs Office, who has done this for jurisdictions around the state. Our timeline for establishing new district lines for municipal elections includes, in March of 2023, City Council adopted a resolution outlining the standards by which it will use to achieve its redrawn district boundaries. June 1st, 2023, a public hearing notice ran in the edition of Lexington Chronicle. The first week of June 2023, approximately 900 letters were sent to all residents that would be affected. The letters indicated what district they were currently in, where they were proposed to move to, as well as reminded them of the council meeting and encouraged them to reach out to staff should they have any questions. On June 21st, 2023, at that council meeting, a public hearing and first reading was held. July 11th, 2023, we held the second reading and the ordinance was deferred until after the 2023 municipal election. So in January of this year, of 2025, approximately 900 letters were mailed to residents that would be affected. The letters indicated what district they were currently in, where they were proposed to move to, as well as reminded them of this council meeting and encouraged them to reach out to staff should they have any questions. We did put the public hearing notice in the Lexington Chronicle on January 16th, and of course, this is our public hearing and our first reading. We did mail exactly 961 letters to all properties affected by the proposed changes. Those letters explain the information that I just shared and provided information about tonight's public hearing. We look forward to hearing from the public, and you do not have to have signed up to speak during the public hearing. We do request that you keep your comments concise. I would first ask Catherine Kelly from the South Carolina Revenues and Fiscal Affairs Office to come up and present their process for redistricting and how they came to propose the districts before us tonight for first reading. Catherine?
Right before the census data came out.
When census data came out, we did have a big push for the counties. So we did redistricting for about 39 counties for the state, and then we've done upwards of 70 or so municipalities around the state and a couple of special purpose districts. Our agency is a third-party neutral agency. We are the official keepers of the numbers from the Census Bureau. So census is done every 10 years. We receive that data, we parse it out, we make it available to the public. You can look at our website. And then we provide statistics as requested by the public. You are not required to use us, but obviously a lot of people have in this redistricting cycle. Things changed in this redistricting cycle from the previous. Previously, you had to have your plan approved through the DOJ. You no longer had to do that. But just so everyone is aware, council is responsible for whatever is adopted for your city. So that being said, there's a couple things to note. A lot of times people want to know why they should care about redistricting. So simply put, it is about your vote having the same impact as others. We have, and it's up on the screen now, a benchmark report that we put together for anybody who requests redistricting. So redistricting does a number of things. It looks at the district sizes and then tells the council where they need to move the lines to adjust so that you comply with one person, one vote. Our office is responsible for making sure that we follow the traditional redistricting principles, which are districts should be drawn contiguously. They need to be drawn to minimize the division of voting precincts. They need to be geographically compact. They need to, when feasible, be drawn with respect to existing districts and communities of interest, which requires input from you all as well as the public, which is what you're doing tonight. And then districts also need to comply with other applicable court decisions and federal and state laws, and our website does offer those court cases. Again, redistricting is very important. Every 10 years, obviously, things change. Things change from year to year, and we know that as well. But the data that we get from the census is the data that we use. We do not go back out and get more data, but we do understand that with municipalities, annexations do occur. And we account for that in the maps that we draw. So again, redistricting is very important. Several reasons. One, making sure your vote counts the same as everyone else's. Emergency services, especially in Cayce where there are, so if you look at the map, there are pieces and parts that are, when people ask where I live, I always say, I zigzag in and out because to get home from work, I drive through Cayce to West Columbia to Cayce. So emergency services is a big thing, and then you're voting, right? So knowing where you're going to vote. All of those very important. If you'd like, I can go through specifically the numbers for the city of Cayce, or you can do your public hearing, however you'd like to proceed.
What's helpful, gentlemen? You want to have a refresh on the numbers?
Sure.
Yeah,
That'd be
sure.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, so the city of Cayce increased population 10% from the last census. So you went from 12,528 people to 13,781 people. So as a result, the ideal district changed from 3,100-ish to about 3,400 people approximately. The numbers are up on the screen. So the benchmark report noted a deviation of 54.74%. So that's the sum of the highest and the sum of the lowest, and it creates a deviation range. By law, you are required to have a maximum range of 10%. RFA recommends a deviation range of 5%. So there was a decent bit of work to be done. As you can see, districts 1 and 2 needed to gain people, and districts 3 and 4 needed to lose people. So one of the things that our office does when we are looking at it is we speak with the administration within the city and make sure we have any feedback from council, and then you do a public hearing, and that feedback can be taken into consideration as well. But you have to move people to get to that 10%. However, we do want to be respectful of communities of interest within the city. But, well, I do live here, so I do know a little bit, but most places we don't know that, so we have to rely on council to provide us that feedback. So the next page shows the city with the current districts. As you can see, we kind of sprawl, obviously population areas up in District 1 and District 2 and 3, and then 4 kind of sprawls out. So in order to make it even, we have to look at the census blocks. Our office does not draw the census blocks. The Census Bureau does that. We have zero control over that. They draw the blocks, they assign the numbers to the block. They go and they count, and so you can have a census block that has 100 people, and you can have a census block that has 15 people. So we take that into consideration when we're moving. It's similar to a puzzle. You gotta make it fit to adjust to get as close to the deviation as possible. We also take into consideration what the current race makeup is. Well, I'm sorry, that is wrong, strike that. We do not take into consideration race. We do have the DOJ definitions of race. We have the total population by race, and we have that noted for you on this page. And then we also have the voting age population by race. Those are DOJ definitions: Hispanic, non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic DOJ black, and non-Hispanic other race. So that is basically where you are at to start. I believe Alan drew 2 drafts? 3. So 3 drafts were created and reviewed. Obviously, the first 2 we sent, there were comments. She made those changes. And now I assume is this the benchmark up here, or is this the draft? This is the draft. So this is the draft map that has been created to make the adjustments to make the statistics match for a 10% deviation or less. So once you've done your public hearing and you have your 2 ordinances, or your 2 readings of your ordinance, you let us know once that's adopted. We will finalize the map. We will send it back to you. You will let the election commission, the local election commission, know that that's been done. We communicate that information also to the state election commission, and the county will pull that data down from their website or their servers. And if there's any questions I can answer, I will try my best to give you as much information as possible.
Thank you so much. Any questions, gentlemen? Thank you so much. Is there anyone who would like to speak during public comment?
Good afternoon. My name is Gerald Cromer. I've lived here in Cayce for 65 years, longer than most all of you been here. I've been attending these council meetings since a lot of you were even born. I'm concerned about what's fixing to happen. I know it has to be done. I've sat through most all the meetings that the mayor alluded to when there would be nobody here but myself from the citizens. I would hate to have the job of redistricting because it affects so many neighborhoods. My neighborhood was known as Broad Acres when I moved there. I've lived in the same house for 65 years. Now, the first 3 blocks of my street is being broken up, along with Northland Drive. I'm on Summerlin Drive and part of Sunnyside. All that was known as Broad Acres all the way out to Frank Street for new 12th Street extension. Now those first three blocks of those streets are going to be put in another district, Mr. Thomas' district, taken away from Mr. Sox. I know sitting behind a desk trying to decide how to shuffle all this has to be confusing, but I think sometimes they don't consider the neighborhoods, how it will affect changing the districts like it's fixing to happen. I don't have any idea anything I have said will affect any way that you people will vote tonight. I've seen so many times, in my opinion, y'all didn't listen to the citizens. Of course, I knew this was coming. I sat through that meeting when all this first came up, Mayor. And as you know probably better than anybody here, I have attended so many council meetings. I hate to see my neighborhood broken up from one representative to another. It affects what happens in the neighborhood. I can't say my neighborhood is the finest neighborhood. It was a nice blue-collar neighborhood when I first went there. The mayor doesn't like me to say this. I've now called it a low-rent district. It's become rental property. But you can go up and down the neighborhood and tell who takes care of their houses. They cut the grass. They have trees. And I've tried to keep my houses looking good over all these years. In fact, I have people that come down and say, Mr. Cromer, can I take my shoes off and walk on your grass? It's so pretty. But I hate to see this change. Old people don't like change. And y'all just do your job. But I want to have my say-so anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cromer.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kelly West. I think I've been up here a few times before, but I live just around the corner, and I'm one of the many homes that'll be redistricted. And one of the questions that I had, which I don't necessarily need an answer to tonight, but just something to consider, and not to put Jim on the spot, but I did email him to ask this question as well, is just if we're going to consider, knowing that this will be in place for at least the next 10 years, if some of the new housing developments will also be considered in our counts. We know that there's a lot of really cool stuff coming, which will bring a lot more people into a lot of these neighborhoods that are being considered. And so just something to kind of think about as we think about the numbers, if those will be taken into consideration. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. West. All right, we're hearing no other public comment. We will close the public hearing. Thank you for sharing those comments. Excuse me. And we will open the regular council meeting. The press and public have been notified according to the Freedom of Information Act.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Who has our invocation this time?
Pray with me, if you will. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight thankful for this beautiful weather we're seeing early in the year. We thank you for allowing us to meet tonight and pray that the actions that we take reflect you, and I pray that they reflect the best interests of our city. Lord, I pray that you're with the families of those impacted by the recent tragedies in Washington and Philadelphia, and that you're with those families, Lord. We thank you for our staff. We pray that you're with our first responders on duty and off duty. And thank you for their courage and willingness to protect our city. I pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice Okay, we have approval of minutes from the January 15th, 2025 regular council meeting.
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Socks.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you. So moved. Next, we have public comment regarding items on the agenda.
No one signed up, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We have discussion and approval of ordinance 2025-03, establishing new municipal district ward lines for the election of council members reflecting population changes in the year 2020 census, and repealing all previous ordinances establishing district ward lines. This is the first reading.
Madam Mayor, members of council, council's approval is needed to give first reading to an ordinance establishing new district lines for municipal elections. In response to the issuance of the new decennial census data, the city is obligated to undertake a redrawing of its districts, if determining necessary, and work with the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office to complete this process. After reviewing the city's census data, SCRFA identified a target population for each district of 3,445 individuals. To achieve a recommended population deviation of 5%, District 2 needs to increase their population and District 4 needs to decrease their current population. In March 2023, City Council adopted a resolution outlining standards by which it will use to achieve its redrawn district boundaries. In June 2023, Council considered the proposed changes to district lines for first reading, but decided to defer the redistricting until after the November 2024 municipal election to ensure that all affected residents were informed of the proposed changes of their districts. The attached map, Exhibit A, shows the proposed new boundaries to meet the adopted standards and required laws. Corresponding demographics can be seen in Exhibit B, and a map showing the affected changes to each district is attached at Exhibit C. Staff recommends council give first reading approval of an ordinance establishing new municipal district ward lines for the election of council members reflecting population changes in the year of the 2020 census, and repealing all previous ordinances establishing district ward lines.
Thank you. Is there a motion by council to approve the resolution? Do you have it at your desk?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2025-03, establishing new municipal district ward lines for election of council members and all that other verbiage.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, Mayor. I'm probably going to get thrown off the diocese up here because I know we've all been dealing with this for many years. But usually as it gets closer and closer, then we do start hearing from constituents. And it seems like to me the resounding thing that I'm hearing from constituents is exactly what RFA mentioned a moment ago, and that is, quote unquote, communities of interest. And I loved how you phrased that up, communities of interest. And I would tell you that in my years of being in the city of Cayce, it's a bunch of neighborhoods that have made up a city. And those neighborhoods are Moss Creek, the Avenues, Broad Acres. And we start dividing those down, are we doing the right thing? When we start pulling out from those, is there another way to look at it versus dividing out these communities of interest? And it does cause me concern. And I know these guys are looking at me up here like, come on, Tim, we've been working with this for a while. But again, constituents usually don't call upon you until it gets closer to time. And that's why I'm so very happy that this would take 2 readings, not just tonight, but another reading afterwards. If it was to pass tonight, then it'd be another reading afterwards. But I asked my colleagues here on the dais to kind of take that into consideration, and maybe I would toss it back to, if Moss Creek was divided out, or if Broad Acres is being divided out, is it consistent with what we've been founded on here in Cayce since 1914, and the fact that it's neighborhood after neighborhood that combines together to make a city? And that's my concern on it. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I do want to say, the only outreach that I've received prior to tonight was folks requesting further information on how the land was changed and if there was further development anticipated, not looking at it from maybe the sheer amount of residents, but more the land mass. But with Mr. Cromer and Ms. West's remarks, both of them residing in District 3 and would be moved to District 2, I just want to mention that I will look into what it would look like with the new developments that we are proposing and what a possibility would look like to keep some of Broad Acres together. I know it gets tricky whenever you get over there, and it's kind of subdivided between Councilman Carter, Councilman Thomas, and myself, but we'll take a look at what that looks like to cut some of that a little bit more together, see if we can make it a little more cohesive between now and next reading.
This may be a question for Jim, or it might be a question for you, Catherine. If that is council's wish to take one more look at this and keep in mind the brand-new neighborhood that's coming, how does that impact numbers, knowing it's not far from getting its ability to have people move in? If this is council's wishes, is it better to not pass this on first reading, look at it, and if it's still, just postpone first reading, and if it's still good, then we move forward with this same map at the next meeting as first reading? Or do we pass it on first reading, knowing there is the possibility of changes, and if there are significant changes, I'm assuming we're back out to a public hearing? No, not necessarily? Okay, yeah, if y'all could, and you'll have to come up to the mic.
Good questions. One, and we spoke about this, about the new development that's happening. So that's not taken into consideration until the next census, right? So we do take into consideration annexations that come between when the census is done and when the redistricting is done. But because there are no people living in that development yet, we don't take that into consideration. That will be done at the next census. But something for council to keep in mind, that will be part of the next census. You will likely need to redistrict again. We have had numerous entities do their first reading in title only for their ordinance. So counties are required to do 3 readings, municipalities 2. I have seen over and over and over again where they do first reading in title only to get the ball rolling. That's up to you. That's how you operate as a council and as a city. We can certainly try to help with the neighborhoods, and I understand what you're talking about. We had this same issue. Hilton Head, for example, you have an island, but it's all different neighborhoods. And so we understand what the issue is there, but just so you're aware, there's only so much movement that can do. So we like to do least change possible, right? So we don't want to move more than we have to get to that 10% or less. We can certainly take another stab at it with input from you all, input from the public. I could be wrong. I don't believe you would have to do another public hearing. You may want to hear from your constituents. That is up to you. But I don't know of anywhere else that's been required or done. But it's just how you plan on moving forward. If you're not comfortable with the map and you want to go back to it, I do believe you have plenty of time to get it done, but our staff, our resources are limited, right? Right now we're in session, so we're a little busier than we normally are. Summer is more of our downtime. So we are able to help to a point, and at some point we may have to refer you to someone else who could help you better than we could. We will provide our technical expertise with your feedback. But I don't know if that answers all your questions or any of them, but.
Did you have?
Yes, ma'am. But going back on the mayor's question, even though the new developments were not considered in the census, are we, since it's our decision, are we allowed to do that, or will that be illegal?
Allowed to do what?
Consider the new development in districts that, new houses that have been put up and everything.
I mean, you can consider them, but you won't be able to include any population from those developments because there was nobody living there during the count. Does that make sense? So,
Yes, that makes sense.
so you can consider it for, the redistricting that will likely happen after the 2030 census. You can certainly think about that now, how that will, and how those new developments may impact that later on. But it doesn't affect right now, if that makes sense.
So if, I'm not sure I understand the annexation example. So if we, let's say we adopted that today, but we annexed a whole neighborhood.
With residents already living there?
Yeah.
Who were living there during the census? So if you do an annexation and those citizens were there during the census count, then we have that data, we have that count. And that, as long as the annexation has gone through and you've done all the things for that to be official, we can include those census blocks that count that population. Do you know if we've gotten any further annexations recently? Okay.
Oh, no, not from us.
Not
No,
from
I
you.
was just trying to understand that versus that incoming
So,
development.
the only development that I mean, and I see it regularly, is the one that's right over here, right? Which no houses are currently built in. So you could take that into consideration. You probably know how many houses are coming. So you could probably take how many houses are coming, multiply it by 3 or 4, whatever, and come up with that number. But that's not going to affect this redistricting cycle. It will likely affect the next redistricting cycle. But you can, use that information to understand that things will change again. But you can't there's no population actually there.
And is that an RFA rule, or is that just a redistricting?
It's just redistricting. We don't have any data for it. So there's nobody actually living there, so we don't have a count for it.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
She has to use the numbers that were counted during the census.
No, I'm
Yes.
aware of that.
That's the only numbers they're allowed,
Yeah,
or anybody's allowed.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Mayor, if I can, I think probably one of your biggest questions were, do we table, do we pass on this tonight if we've got concerns, or do we hold off?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what's our best practice, what's the easiest for staff. One thing I am clear on is, you saw when I read that timeline, this was brought up before the last election.
Right.
And because of staff changes at the highest level of our city, this has not happened, and it can't go on any longer. It needs to be done. It's fair for our citizens to just know what is, so it has to happen. So I would not be interested in pushing this out any further than a month from today, knowing it's 2 more readings. So outside of that, what's our best move? Do you have a preference, Jim?
So we'll be working together for the next 2 weeks. Kelly and Alan putting together some, maybe another draft to see what we can do. And there wasn't much deviation we could do between draft 3 and draft 4 where we are now. So we'll have to.
So if you guys
You'll have to come up to them.
Sorry. You guys spoke about your neighborhoods and knowing all those things. If you want to take, and I've got actually a copy that you can have tonight, if you want to take the benchmark map as well as the current draft map, and if you want to individually circle with a Sharpie the neighborhoods that you're referring to. And, Alan can take a look from the census block level and see what we can do. We'll tell you if it's feasible, right? We will never go over the 10%. That's not something our office does. But if you want to take, I'll leave these here, and if you want to go in and make those marks and then take a picture of it and send it back to us, we can work with you on that. And then, if you want to set up a Teams meeting, or if you want, we're right across the river, we can come over,
Okay.
right? So,
And I'd love for our citizens who spoke and anyone else who's here but didn't speak but is concerned about that to get with Jim so that you can share your thoughts. We can include that. That's really helpful. Thank you.
So the question is, will we,
I would, based on everything I'm hearing, I would recommend that you defer first reading. If the thought is 2 weeks from now, you're going to reconsider possibly anyway, I would just go ahead and defer first reading.
Okay.
We can pin down the public hearing issue if a new public hearing would be necessary. And at that point, if there are substantial changes, we just have a clean, fresh start 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Otherwise, like you say, maximum a month out from today.
Yep.
And it'll be approved in this version
Right.
or otherwise.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks you. Everybody good with that? Any other questions or comments?
Do we have to pull the motion
Bill?
out?
Yes, I'd like to at least reiterate and emphasize the point that this is a game, this is a numbers situation. If you look at that bar chart, District 4, which I represent, we got I'm like it's sitting at a plus 26 deviation, and District 2 is a minus 28. On the numbers, it's 1,900 voters. So we are going to have people jump in districts. As far as the cleanliness of neighborhoods, let's go back to 1914, when Cayce was basically a grid up there on the avenues. It was clean and it was neat. There was however many people and as we grew over the years, we went this direction, we went that direction. Mine, physically, if you look at the map I'm looking at is not that one. It's just got different colors. It's this big old giant blob of whatever color it is. Looks like it's all these gajillions of people. I have really 3 neighborhoods. It's very dense. Moss Creek, Concord Park, and Edenwood. And all this green is basically tadpoles and bullfrogs and all this stuff on the other side of the river. So let's caution ourselves against the geography. Well, we need to acknowledge and recognize neighborhood boundaries. Fortunately, mine's pretty clean along Taylor Road, but I don't see how we're going to make any circling of neighborhoods and move without a radical change, because again, I'm 1,900 folks over, and I need to lose some folks, and I think you did a great job on my district, and I knew I was going to lose those neighbors, and they were the logical choices from my district to shift over to the other side. But I'm with council. I'm not going to push this thing. I'd rather have a deferral according, like the attorney suggested, as opposed to a no. So if you would like for me, it's my motion, do I need to, I would like to withdraw, Mayor, officially withdraw my motion for the approval of, whatever the ordinance was, 2025-3, I recall. So my motion is withdrawn. And I make a motion that we defer to, March,
No, the second meeting in February.
second meeting, February 18th? 19th, February 19th, right?
Second.
Okay, thank you. And you offered the first second, didn't you?
I did not, Hunter did.
Are you okay with?
I'll second it.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Any other discussion about the deferral?
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, then we will call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Socks.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you, so moved. We have discussion and approval of ordinance 2025-01, amending the zoning map and rezoning property located on Dixiana Road. This is tax map number 006899-01-027 from M1 to M2. This is the second reading.
Madam Mayor, members of council, staff wishes to defer this to the next council meeting of February 19th.
Is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation?
Move that we approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, so we will move to postpone this item to the second meeting in February. Any discussion? I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Socks.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you, so moved. We have discussion and approval of ordinance 2025-02, annexing 2 properties located on Dixiana Road. This is tax map number 006899-01-029 and 006899-01-030, and assigning M2 zoning designations. This is the second reading.
This also goes with B, if we could defer this to February 19th also.
Is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation to postpone this to the second meeting in February?
Move that we approve the staff recommendation to postpone.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Socks.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you, so moved. We have bid award for Glenwood Park.
Council approval is needed to accept a service agreement between the City of Cayce and Virtus Construction for improvements to Glenwood Park. On November 1st, 2024, the city posted a request for quotes, an RFQ, on the city's webpage, scbo.com, seeking experienced consultants capable of improvements necessary for Glenwood Park. The park is in dire need of improvements. City administration, along with park staff, created a list of necessary improvements to the park, which included the replacement of chain link fence, removal of an old broken bike rack, reconditioning the basketball court, including the goals, moving an old picnic shelter and table, and adding new water fountain, installing new seating and trashing receptacles. The park is one of several neighborhood pocket parks located in the city and is used frequently. Virtus Construction scored the highest points total in the evaluation criteria, meeting all the necessary RFQ requirements, and was the lowest bidder. Virtus Construction is located locally in Columbia with an added bonus of the project manager residing in Cayce. There was a total of 6 companies that submitted proposals: Virtus Construction, 3D Dirtworks, Bliss, Merrick, JF Contractors, and Bullseye Building. A selection committee was made up of 3 city staff members, reviewed to score proposals based on specific criteria. Virtus Construction was the most responsive and responsible responder. Staff recommends that the project be awarded to Virtus Construction in an amount of $49,962.44 and authorize the city manager to execute said contract. Funding for the project will come from the Hospitality Tax Reserve Fund.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation?
Move that we approve the staff recommendation to award the bid to Virtuous Construction.
Second.
And
Virtus, I'm sorry, in the amount of $49,962.44. And for the city manager to execute said agreement.
thank you. Oh, any discussion?
Yes, ma'am, Mayor. Mayor, council, community, this is a big win for families in our beautiful city. And I'm very proud of our staff for working on this. This has been something I've been speaking about since September. So I'm very excited to see that our city is going to be renovating the Glenwood Park. And so I'm very excited for the families, and I can't wait to see families be at that new park and just see, kids making new friends and families coming together. But Jim, I would love to ask, when it does get time for Glenwood to be unveiled to the public, it would be awesome if we could get the students from BC or Airport, especially the basketball team, to test out the new basketball court. Let them see just how nice it is, because we definitely want them out there. So I'm really excited, and I want the constituents to know we're not going to stop upgrading our parks. We want to have the best parks in the area, in the state of South Carolina, for all of our families to enjoy, for families to tell their family to come here and play on our parks and to have their family reunions or birthdays and everything. So I'm very excited. And with that also speaking, while we're talking about parks, I would love to challenge the events committee.
Oh, hang on, we're on this item.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, this definitely is a win, thanks to all the neighborhood leaders that we've met with forever. And this is Dar Brown, who is the neighborhood leader for this area, and she's really been a very active part of our community and done a lot through some of her work in public health and helping with sidewalks and those kinds of things. So she's really spearheaded this and worked with us to help get the neighborhood involved so that we can make it what the neighborhood wants and what they'll get involved with. And so, so we definitely have talked about getting the high school basketball team there, but also the elementary and middle school students. Jim and I talked about reaching out to our SROs and getting them to help reach out to the students in the neighborhood, and also probably using our trash can notices that our neighborhood leaders know that we use to help let all the people in the neighborhood know about this park opening. So we're really excited. And I'll call the question.
Mayor, I believe there
Yeah.
might need to be another and, that the project would be funded through the Hospitality Tax Reserve Fund in that motion.
I don't think it has to, but absolutely. Perfect to add that for clarity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Saab.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you. So moved. Next, we have committee matters. There's a request for you to approve to enter the following committee approved minutes into the city's record. You have the Events Committee from October 10th, Board of Zoning from October 21st, Museum and Historical Commission from November 6th, and Cayce Housing Authority from November 19th.
Do we approve all to the city's record?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Saab.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you. So moved. City Manager's report?
Oh, yes. First, I'd like to introduce Wesley Crosby, our new Assistant City Manager over Special Projects and Community Development.
Welcome.
Thank you, Wesley.
Appreciate it.
He is duly needed. Yeah, beginning of the week, we went through our project list, and Wesley didn't attend, so he was, anyway. For my city manager report tonight, with Glenwood Park on this evening agenda, we thought it'd be nice to showcase some other of our park upgrades that we've recently done. One of them is Granby Park, recently installed new electricity panels and water to have more option for city events. One of those events comes the Cayce Cool Down we were able to do. So we'll also have Wi-Fi in that park soon. Ginyard Park recently replaced the picnic tables, and we'll also have Wi-Fi also. Additional upgrades are in the future as far as the gates in the front. Cayce Memorial Park with Lexington County Rec Commission, they were both working with the city to install new equipment. Pickleball courts and the field dedicated to a pet area. And on the weekends, I know there's usually lines waiting outside to play for those pickleball courts. H. Kelly Jones Park, located right off our Riverwalk. We have a nice covered area with bathrooms. It's also where we created a river access point. And city parks continue to be one of the city's main objectives. Look forward to more recommendations from the staff and future upgrades.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah. That's great. Okay, we have council comments.
Just want to say thank you, Jim and team, for focusing on our parks. Appreciate it very, very much. We, especially in the avenues and probably a few other communities throughout the city, we're seeing young families coming in as the houses are turning over. And we've got to have a place for these kids and families to enjoy time together. It's a priority. It's about quality of life. And that does me a lot of good to see those pictures pop up there and what's going on throughout the city. Thank you for continuing to dedicate your time on that. Wes, welcome to us. Thank you. Glad you're here.
Mayor, so due to my excitement, so I would love to challenge the events committee to think about some awesome music opportunities for our art lot, because we want to definitely attract attention to that as well. That is a city park, and it's a beautiful music venue with restaurants and shops all around it. So events committee, y'all are doing great work, but I would love to challenge you to bring some music to Cayce, as that's currently our beautiful amphitheater. But also, Mayor, the MO Day cleanup was a huge success on Saturday, January 18th. I want to thank everyone that showed up, especially to the Brooklyn Cayce High School Sustainability Club. We picked up over 300 pounds of trash in 2 hours on the streets of Hart, Lilly, Middle, Wilkinson, and a portion of Poplar Street. So it was truly a beautiful day to serve our city in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, and be looking out for something next year so our city is a city of service and action in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you to the Cayce West Columbia Library and South Carolina Student Loan Association for partnering with me to host a FAFSA student loan and scholarship seminar last week. We had a great crowd, and I can't wait to see what other seminars the library and the SC Student Loans can put on together to continue to help families in Cayce and Lexington County. And finally, Mayor, at our last council meeting, you asked me to bring more information in regards to comment to our constituents. So I did post it on my social media to get the jump start, but I just want to tell y'all a few things that will be a benefit. So the DART is a complimentary Americans with Disabilities Act paratransit service for persons with disabilities unable to board the Comet buses or access a transit stop for any trip purpose. In order to use DART, customers must complete an ADA certification application. DART operates the same service hours as the Comet non-express fixed routes. Customers must board, travel, and alight within 3-4 miles of operating the Comet route. So if you are ADA, this is a great opportunity for you to get around the city if you don't have transportation needs. On top of that, the Comet has the Comet on the go. The Comet would pay up to $8 for lift rides that start and end in the Comet fixed routes. And the programs that fall under that is the Comet at night, 7 days a week between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m., and the Comet to the Market, 7 days a week between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. That'll take you to grocery stores that sell fresh produce and meats up to 4 trips per month. And when I looked on the list, Food Lion and Neighborhood Walmarts were on that list, and we have 2 in Cayce and a neighborhood Walmart. So you can call the Comet's customer service number at 803-255-7100. That's 803-255-7100 for more information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian, that's really awesome.
Yes,
What's the Comet route, remind me, it goes out 12th Street, but don't we still have a portion that are going to be outside of that?
Well, the 12th Street extension?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that.
Yes, it goes
the
to
route.
Amazon, it goes to like that business corridor and
Yeah.
everything. Yes, ma'am.
So it's got to be 3/4 of a mile on either side of 12th Street.
Yes, within that distance, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And again, like from the last meeting, I did ask Comet to come here and present to our constituents and council so that they can answer more questions.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
great, thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you. A couple months ago, Memorial Drive got paved near me, and much needed, especially the intersection over there as you exit onto, enter or exit off of Charleston Highway. And the DOT signs have been up ever since, so I just want to say thank you to Jim and staff for helping get those down. It's almost like they just put them up and forget they're up.
Almost.
Kind of. Thanks.
Yeah, we had the reopening ribbon cutting yesterday of Zaxby's on Knox Abbott. They are wide open for business with their new building. We attended the Chick-fil-A ribbon cutting today. While it's not in the city, they certainly use our services. As usual, you can imagine it's an impressive operation. And that's all I have, Mayor.
That's awesome, thank you, and I'll piggyback off of that. So I know, Hunter, you didn't get to join us for the Zaxby's, so I have my swag bag for you from Zaxby's to share with you. It looks great on Knox Abbott. I mean, that's what businesses do. When a city is investing in itself, then businesses will invest here, and we've done a great job of that, and our team is very business-friendly. So thank you guys for working at the speed of business and all the hard work you do. And Tim, I know you didn't get to be with us today because you're not feeling good, but this is the swag bag of mine that I brought for you from Chick-fil-A, from the distribution center. So the distribution center is right out past Amazon on 12th Street Extension. It is literally a distribution center that will be there to support all of the restaurants in this area. Amazing, seamless operation. that's going on out there, but we provide it water and sewer, and y'all know we are the 6th largest water and sewer provider in the entire state. So, because of our amazing utilities team, they do such a great job that we do have lots of businesses that want to come. There's some that are in the city and some that are our customers outside of the city that get water and sewer, but the economic development is absolutely great. And then, last thing, I got this really great email from a citizen to Thomas White, and I'll read it. He said, Mr. White, just a quick note, Thomas is our head of streets and sanitation, and many of you know him because he's awesome, just like a lot of our team. This citizen said, Mr. White, just a quick note to say thanks for a job well done, a job most people don't think about other than when they put their Herbie-Kirby out or bring it back in. They don't think about the rain, cold, or even the heat. The trash trucks still run, other than the occasional snow day, but most businesses were off for that one, some for a couple of days. The sanitation crew took their day because safety is and must always be job one. That Thursday was cold, but here they come down the street. And when I waved to them, they returned my gesture, hopefully with a smile. And life in Cayce goes on, one Herbie-Kirby at a time, after time, after time. So for this Cayceite or Cayce land, it's hats off, stand and applaud. Congrats on a job well done and underappreciated. Keep smiling and waving, I will. Yeah, nice. All right, we have really long executive sessions, so I'm going to read to you all the items that we're about to cover tonight in executive session. We have receipt of legal advice relating to claims and potential claims by and against the city and other matters covered by the attorney-client privilege. This includes fire truck warranty litigation, zoning appeal litigation for 1028 Michaelmas Avenue. Also, receipt of legal advice and discussion of proposed contractual arrangements relating to proposed lease of office space, proposed purchase of fire department equipment, Avenues Drainage Project. Discussion of Lexington County economic development projects relating to the proposed location, expansion, or the provision of services, encouraging location or expansion of industries or other businesses within the city. Discussion of proposed contractual arrangements relating to negotiation of a proposed city manager employment contract, and receipt of legal advice and other matters covered by the attorney-client privilege relating to city attorney communication and city council rules of procedure. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session for said reasons?
Move that we enter executive session for said reasons.
Second.
Thank you. I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James?
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes.
Councilmember Socks?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, thank you. So moved.
Thank you.
We don't need to wait on these screens, we're good? We don't need these screens, but I just didn't know if you, yeah, okay, we're good. All right, so no action was taken in executive session except to come out of executive session. We have possible actions by council and follow-up to executive session. First is approval of city manager's contract.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Council knows my thoughts on this, and I just want to go on the record because I'm about to vote no, and this is not about Jim, because Jim's awesome. It's about the risk of saddling our taxpayers with another huge bill, and given our very recent history, I would say that it's a pretty big risk. Council just stuck taxpayers with a severance package for our last administrator, needlessly, I think, and unfortunately, there's nothing to suggest that it won't happen again. We'd be potentially leaving taxpayers on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars, and that's not a chance that I want to take, especially at a time when our budget is stretched, when we very well may have to raise taxes, and when our employees are going without a cost of living adjustment. Jim's a fine man and a capable administrator, but again, this isn't about Jim, it's about protecting our taxpayers. I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Can we have council comments?
Yeah,
on that?
please, absolutely.
I'd just like to add to that, Mayor, that we did allow our city attorney to review this, and he has come back to us and made sure that we're keenly aware that the International Association of City Managers is at least what we are proposing here tonight, and even more for many cases. And that for our last 3 city managers, we're being very consistent with what we're doing with Jim, as was with the last 3 city managers. I think it's important that we know that.
Yep. Thank you. I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Socks.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
No. Thank you. So moved. Other items discussed in executive session?
I move that we approve the lease purchase of fire truck as discussed in executive session with $500,000 at contract signing into a 7-year lease payment.
Second.
Any discussion? I'd just like to thank our chief and assistant chief for finding this great option so that we can continue to keep them safe, first of all, and then keep our citizens safe. You know, having the right equipment for the fire department actually helps to make sure that we are able to create a rating that is what insurance companies use to decide how much they're going to charge you for insurance at your home. And so us doing our proactive work here actually saves our citizens money on their home insurance. So not only keeps our great staff safe, which matters to us a lot, but it helps our citizens as well. So this is exciting. I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Socks.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you. So moved. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll call the question.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Councilmember Socks.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you. So moved. Y'all have a great night.
Y'all feel better. Move.